The parents of the baby were humans, who had once ventured into the underground labyrinth. The child they gave birth to was raised by monsters, drinking monster milk as they grew up. From the age of 3, these children were driven away by the monsters. He dug tunnels in the perilous labyrinth. Everyone run, damn it. He actually dug into the nest of the infernal spider. Please help me. Please save me. Jim suddenly woke up from a nightmare, his face turning pale. He looked like he was weak and bloodless. Domi, frightened, quickly approached to inquire about the situation. Jim said it was just a nightmare about the past. In fact, he has always been taboo about letting others know about his past, so he did not want to say much. Unexpectedly, as he looked up, his eyes happened to meet the gaze of this group of adorable pets. From their clear eyes, revealed a hint of silliness. This made Jim feel particularly at ease. Couldn't help but scratch his head and smile. His mood also became less tense and relaxed. He then ordered Domi to strengthen the guard around the labyrinth. If the presence of infernal spiders is discovered, it must be reported immediately. At this moment, Domi reminds that the labyrinth has successfully been upgraded to level 3. Upon hearing this, Jim immediately became interested. He opened the control interface. He found that 6 Garo workers were summoned again. At the same time, the core of the labyrinth had been successfully unlocked. The moment it was clicked open, a 100-pound iron lump fell from the sky and landed in front of everyone. But this clumsy appearance really doesn't look good at all. At this moment, Domi noticed something unusual about Jim. She immediately started explaining the core of the labyrinth to him. If the core is destroyed, the entire Garo labyrinth will malfunction. Of course, if it remains intact. Even if the Garo labyrinth is razed to the ground in battle, with it, everything can be restored. Jim's attention was suddenly caught by a pop-up window. It displayed that the core had been activated. Monsters in the distance all sensed the presence of the labyrinth. Unexpectedly, a warning followed closely. It indicated a group of 20 horned rats rushing towards the labyrinth. They are expected to arrive in 59 minutes. Upon seeing this, Jim immediately felt a little flustered. He quickly shared the information with Domi to seek a solution. Domi's proposed solution is to summon a sufficient number of combat units immediately, because at present they only have 1 Garo guard stationed at the warehouse. Jim summoned the control interface. After creating the level 3 labyrinth, 4 new types of troops were indeed added. They are the Garo Archer, known for their accurate shooting skills; the mighty Garo Berserker with extraordinary combat power; the Garo Mage known for their excellent magic skills; and the Garo Cleric with the ability to heal wounds with skilled hands. These unit types cover various aspects and are all very powerful. Of course, they also require a large amount of gems to use. But right now, you only have 21 gems on hand. How should you summon units efficiently? Just as Jim was troubled by this, Domi reminded him that the horned rat's actual combat power is not high. A Garo guard can single-handedly take on 4 horned rats. A berserker or a cleric is equivalent to 2 Garo guards. The combat power of an archer corresponds to 3 Garo guards. Mages correspond to 5 Garo guards. She also emphasized that apart from berserkers, the other unit types have weak melee attacks. So it is important to pay attention to the unit composition. Through Domi's easy-to-understand comparison, Jim had an idea in his mind instantly. With limited time, he immediately started summoning. After a flash of sparks with lightning, 2 figures exuding a strong sense of oppression appeared before the crowd. A total of 1 Garo guard and 2 Garo berserkers were summoned, their imposing figures indeed too formidable. However, the Garo guard that was summoned together could only dodge to the side, trembling in fear. Jim was also delighted to see this, and instinctively sought validation. He even felt the urge to immediately lead Garo Berserker to find Wolfape to avenge their previous humiliation. Suddenly, he noticed that a baby snake seemed somewhat resentful. Now is the time to prepare for battle. Such emotions cannot be tolerated. Domi provided a clear explanation for this. Baby snake is actually a subspecies of these high-level warriors. The stronger the subspecies, like the Garo people, the higher the chances of their birth. Although the subspecies moves slowly and lacks willpower, they exhibit remarkable endurance and strength. So they are very reliable as logistic personnel. Upon hearing this, Jim suddenly understood. He immediately ordered the assembly of all Garo logistics personnel. Domi was also deeply puzzled by this. Unexpectedly, Jim picked up the hoe standing in the corner. I know that the Garo tribe values honor the most. Currently, our Garo labyrinth is about to experience the first battle. At this glorious moment, all Garo people should participate regardless of any distinctions between them. Even a hoe can become a weapon for the warriors at this time. Upon hearing the words, the unhappy Garo baby snake's eyes suddenly regained their spirit. Jim looked at baby snake with encouraging eyes. It was eager for glory and eager to fight for Garo. Following that, Jim raised his arm and called out, "Let's kill all those bastards who dare to invade the Garo labyrinth. Kill them all!" Instantly, morale soared and blood boiled among all members. The mouse is not afraid of bloodline suppression. It only thinks about eating snakes in its mind. Just because it wants to lead the Horned Rat clan, standing at the top of the underground food chain. They want to break free from the identity of underground laborers and achieve the status of prey for other predators. In Garo Labyrinth, Jim is also making final mobilizations for the upcoming battle. 3 miles away from Garo Labyrinth, a thick smoke could be seen rising. Vaguely visible were the weapons being held upright in the ranks. After this aggressively approaching team got closer, it turned out to be a group of mice with long horns on their heads. The leading horned rat saw that there were only 3 Garo baby snakes standing at the entrance of the Garo labyrinth. He was immediately overjoyed, guessing that the new owner of this Garo labyrinth was a foolish noob who didn't know how to create troops. "My horns are the biggest, so I am the smartest. You all have to believe me and listen to me. In front of us, there is a nest of baby snakes in this labyrinth. Let's charge in and eat them. Then your horns will become as big as mine." This sentence is like a drop of water falling into a hot oil pan, instantly igniting the fiery passion of all the horned rats present. Their minds are filled with images of growing bigger and longer. Immediately after, the horned rats, in a frenzy, followed the direction that Ricky pointed. They shouted and charged towards the Garo labyrinth. The 3 baby snakes that were arranged at the entrance as bait were already trembling in fear. They have brought shame to the Garo tribe. They forcefully suppressed the urge to turn and run away. Suddenly, a horned rat leaped up first. The long sword in its hand was about to draw first blood. Unexpectedly, a figure shot out from the side. In the blink of an eye, he had already moved several meters away. Wherever he passed, not a single horned rat was left unscathed. Blood splattered on the spot. Join me in defending the honor of Garo, brave companions. As soon as the words fell, 2 Garo guards instantly stood behind Jim. At the same time, the Garo berserker, wielding a 40-meter-long machete, blocked horned rat's retreat like a god. This is the tactic devised by Jim. They are going to trap the horned rat group from the front and back, blocking them in the narrow entrance passage. They charged forward from both sides at the same time, crazily harvesting the lives of the horned rat. The sudden change in the battle situation caught Ricky off guard. However, it suddenly recalled the words of the man in black robes, who approached it a few days ago. If the Horned Rat clan wants to break free from the identity of laborers in the labyrinth, and the fate of being eaten due to their weakness, there is a rare opportunity at hand. The man in black robes informed Ricky of the location of the labyrinth and instructed that as long as the control core inside the labyrinth is devoured, it will be able to become the new owner of the Garo labyrinth. At this moment, Ricky suddenly had a goal. Through the gap between the Garo guards, it saw the location of the labyrinth's core. So it gathered the horned rats around it and deployed a battle plan. They then began to act separately. just saw Ricky taking the lead and charging toward the entrance of the labyrinth. The other horned rats were also inspired by the sight. They launched a fierce feint attack against the two Garo guards. Sure enough, under the fearless protection of the horned rat, Ricky carries the hopes of the horned rat clan. It successfully broke through the defense line of the Garo guard and entered the interior of the labyrinth. Domi reacted quickly, loudly calling for Jim to fall back. However, Jim turned back indifferently, his eyes filled with a bloodthirsty intent. He snatched the knife from Garo guard's hands. He lightly stepped on his toes and leaped up, running towards the labyrinth. Unexpectedly, Ricky's skills were impressive as well. He dodged the obstacles on the road and swiftly approached, having already bypassed the layers of hindrances from the baby snake. In the twinkling of an eye, the blade carried a sharp whistling sound as it sliced through the air. In an instant, the area around the core of the labyrinth was engulfed in billowing smoke and dust from the impact. Unexpectedly, as soon as Jim landed, he received an alert that the core of the labyrinth had been damaged. He looked up at the core of the labyrinth again, only to find Ricky impaled on the platform by a knife hole, but its fangs in its mouth still unwillingly poised to bite towards the core. Jim couldn't stand it. He went up and gave it a good whack. It turns out that Jim's thrown knife caused damage to the core of the labyrinth. This is a bit embarrassing. This is almost a rhythm that could have killed oneself. On the other hand, with Ricky's death, the morale of the horned rat was severely hit. Resolving them is just a matter of time. At the same time, Jim also discovered that the Garo people are indeed fierce in combat. Due to the tail, their center of balance is particularly stable. This makes them not hindered by the bulkiness of their bodies. Instead, they are more agile and swift. If it were him facing such an enemy, he would probably find it difficult to deal with. At this moment, the battle is approaching its end. Little do they know that a figure in black robes has long been hiding in the dark, silently observing everything. In a certain location in the underground labyrinth, the man in black robes is kneeling, reporting the battle situation to a giant beast. The master has already ascertained that there are only 5 combat units in the Garo labyrinth, consisting of 1 hero-level unit and 4 ordinary soldiers. And their master seems to be just an ignorant rookie. Although they pose no threat to us now, they consider themselves descendants of dragons, claiming that even with impure bloodlines, they can also dominate in this underground world. This man in black robes seems to have some intention of sowing discord. The gigantic beast on the throne was indeed angered and let out a low growl. It ordered the man in black robes to organize another team of monsters to launch an attack. This mouse actually wants to swallow this bead in order to make its antlers bigger and longer. Sure enough, the final outcome can only be death. After the battle ended, the control system quickly compiled the data. Unfortunately, due to Horned Rat being too weak, Jim did not receive any substantial rewards. Instead, due to the tactical arrangements of flanking from the front and back, he gained a slight increase in charm points. He was awarded the title of Junior Commander. This battle also sounded an alarm in Jim's heart. He even felt fortunate. His first opponent was this group of weak horned rats. The Garo Labyrinth is located in the geyser area. There must be strong enemies lurking around. He originally intended to play defensively and develop, slowly revealing his fangs afterwards. Who knows now the appearance of the core of the labyrinth? It exposed the existence of the Garo Labyrinth. This made Jim inexplicably restless. He must quickly develop and become stronger. With a series of instructions issued by him, suddenly, the entire labyrinth began to operate in an orderly manner. At the same time, he also has many plans that need to be refined and developed. But all of these require a large number of gems. However, the gems collected from plants and veins are simply not enough. Suddenly inspired, I remembered the horns on the head of the horned rat. Perhaps you can get some money from the swindler to buy gems. Unexpectedly, when he arrived at the swindler's place, he was doused with a bucket of cold water. Because the value of this horn is not great, the purchase price is not ideal. Unfortunately, he could only go to Swindler again. Listen for news about Infernal Spider. He was informed that the first expedition team to Infernal Spider had unexpectedly set off. If he wants to join again, he will need to provide proof of ranking. Only then can he join the main lineup. What is your rank, young man? If you have the required rank, I can help you apply for a spot through my connections. The old man has even conducted a background check on me. I don't know my rank. Actually, even Jim himself is not sure about this issue. He only knows that he was born and raised in the 12th level underground. It is governed by a Duke-class monster in the labyrinth. Upon hearing this, Swindler was immediately stunned, and the shock on her face was hard to conceal. You are probably the player with the highest level in the underground dungeon in the country at level 12. Jim was puzzled by Swindler's reaction. What's so surprising about level 12 that it could make such a fuss? Swindler seemed genuinely clueless about the classification of underground levels. He then picked up a pen, planning to educate him on the matter. But his artistic skills were so lifelike that no one could understand. He explained that these were the children who came out from levels 1 to 3. When they grow up, they are only slightly stronger than adult men. They can only work as guides in the exploration team. The strength of children from levels 4 to 6 when they grow up. They can serve as members of the assault team. They are considered to have the strength comparable to Captain America. From level 7 to 9, it's remarkable. That's where the monster territory begins. Children who can grow up and survive there correspond to the strength of the Hulk. Below level 10, it's unimaginable. The monsters there are all on the level of Thanos. So far, no assault team has been able to penetrate. Simply put, the children from deeper levels are stronger. They have special abilities that are different from ordinary people in terms of strength, speed, or other aspects. Speaking of this, he asked with interest if Jim has any special skills, such as breathing fire or having laser eyes. Jim saw him making fun of himself like this. He instantly shot a cold glare at the Swindler. He coldly said, "In my eyes, your whole body is a weakness. In less than a second, I can send you to report to the underworld in advance." Stop, stop, stop! Young man, hold on. It's just a joke. Don't take it seriously. After all, he still remembers that Jim can easily smash his desk to pieces. He quickly changed the topic, saying he would declare it as soon as possible to get Jim into the main team. Unexpectedly, Jim didn't want to attract attention. He just wanted to be declared as a level 7 entry. Swindler did not dare to ask more, and readily agreed to it. He will first arrange the affairs of the Garo Labyrinth for the near future. Because he estimates that he will not be able to return until 2 weeks later, he asked Domi to bring the gems collected these days. He threw all the gems into the altar. He summoned a Garo archer, but it looked ridiculous with its eyes covered by tattered cloth. Are you sure it's not here to be funny? All right, since it's here, let's have it guard the gate first. He also left 2 gems in the tent for Domi to use for daily maintenance. At this time, Jim asked Domi, "Can this portal be opened and closed at will? Or adjusted in size? After all, it seems a bit inconvenient for this door to be always open like this." The man was originally a powerful level 12 expert. Yet he has to lurk in the expedition team, working as a level 7 rookie porter. Simply because he only has 2 meager gems left in his account. At this moment, Jim has already sneaked into the besieged entrance of the P-State Underground Labyrinth. Main force of Infernal Spider. Claire, the woman wielding a large machete, is the leader of this squad. This mission requires all Infernal Spiders on the 2nd level of the labyrinth to be killed within 2 weeks. The team consists of 7 main members. An additional 15 ordinary assault team members are provided as support. Once the head count was confirmed, they immediately set off in full gear. As the entrance gate of the labyrinth slowly opened, Captain Claire emphasized to the team members once again, "Be sure to follow orders. And we need to pass through the first level of the labyrinth quickly." They need to reach the second level to join forces with the advanced team for the battle. Unexpectedly, the team encountered obstacles right from the start. The appearance of the whiptail lizard in front of them. In an instant, it devoured one of the team members. Captain Claire quickly organized the team members to respond. However, these main forces were calmly smoking and joking on the side. It had been rumored that the current strength of the Special Forces team members had declined. I didn't expect it to be so unbearable. Before the yellow-haired man could finish his sentence, the sound of a blade being unsheathed caught his attention. This guy seems to be a level 7 rookie brought in by the captain. In the meantime, Jim leaped into the air and slashed at the lizard's neck with a knife. Instantly, a horrifying wound was left on the lizard's body. Captain Claire is also experienced and adept at seizing opportunities in battle. She ordered the assault team members to direct all firepower towards the lizard's wound. The crisis was resolved shortly afterwards. However, the team member who was eaten had already passed away due to severe injuries. Claire sighed deeply at this. She quickly adjusted her mood and immediately started to rearrange the personnel. She had to lead the team to evacuate before the smell of blood spread. She immediately turned around to pick a fight with Jim afterwards. Your skills are quite impressive. Whiptail lizard tough skin, but you can easily break through it. But the conversation suddenly changed. If you don't follow instructions and act recklessly next time, I will kick you out of the team. It's a typical combination of benevolence and authority. But Jim doesn't buy into her approach at all. He replied that he is just following his heart. In order to avoid conflicts and differences, Claire can only patiently explain. The 7 of us must preserve our strength as the main force of the team. Because the upcoming battle, regular assault squad members simply cannot handle it. Jim also agreed with her statement and stopped talking. A week later, they finally arrived at the entrance to the second underground level. The whole team stopped first. They did some simple replenishment and rest. Suddenly, a team member responsible for standing guard around the area noticed something unusual. It seemed that something fell and hit his helmet. The team member picked it up and found out that it was a valuable velvet gem. This discovery immediately attracted a crowd of onlookers. Each one of them was exhilarated. This is a chance to get rich. But why would the gem fall from the cave roof? The team member who returned from patrol on the other side is reporting to the captain, Claire. The mission of the patrol team was originally to search for the markers left by the advance team, to facilitate timely rendezvous and coordinate with the rear for combat. However, when following the marks and searching to a certain location along the way, they suddenly disappeared. Judging from the traces left at the scene, it is determined that the advance team must have encountered a spider, and the battle was quite intense. At the same time, it was also discovered that a gem fell from the top. Strangely, when a team member tried to pick up the gem, their body was immobilized in midair. Upon hearing this, Claire immediately realized the seriousness of the situation. She quickly rushed to the scene with her team. Indeed, it was as described. One of the commandos hung in the air like a puppet on a string, in a strange and eerie position. She immediately ordered all personnel to be on high alert and prepared for battle as if facing a major enemy. At the same time, she ordered the launch of illumination flares towards the cave ceiling. One flare was launched, revealing humanoid cocoons hanging upside down on the ceiling. This caused everyone present to have their hair stand on end instantly. Claire forced herself to remain calm. In a deep voice, she ordered there to be only 10 bodies here. There should be other members of the advance team still alive. Hurry and evacuate from this place to regroup. Just as she was speaking, unbeknownst to her, a spider had quietly appeared behind her. The teammates' startled cries alerted her to the emergency situation behind her. Without thinking too much, she tightened her grip on the large knife in her hand and swiftly turned around, instantly beheading the spider. The assault team reacted quickly without hesitation, opening up their folding defense shields. At the same time, they swiftly and orderly regrouped, forming a closed formation. The main team members all displayed their weapons one after another, creating a defensive line on the periphery to protect them. When the illumination flare went out in an instant, the spiders' attacks followed one after another. Jim immediately flashed behind Claire to block with a knife. He instantly felt the knife tremble. Sparks flew in an instant. Launch a flare quickly. Just as the words fell, the second flare was launched. However, a spider quietly appeared behind it. A large group of spiders was slowly descending along the silk threads. To these spiders, this team seemed most suitable for becoming mummified in this manner. However, facing a giant spider can bring immense and oppressive despair to people, but not to the Hell Babies. Because from the moment they can remember things, they have been struggling to survive in despair. The man with yellow hair had a cruel and bloodthirsty smile on his face. His figure leaped up. With a long knife in hand, he swiftly took down the first opponent with a flick of his wrist. Immediately, he took advantage of the downward momentum to ruthlessly stab down with his knife, nailing another opponent to the ground. At this moment, a spider suddenly leaped from the side and pounced towards him. This came just in time. The yellow-haired man quickly drew in his leg to tighten his core strength. In an instant, he kicked and thrust simultaneously with both feet, sending it flying. Teammate Nolan also did not back down. Holding dual knives, he took care of one as well. He immediately kicked the ground hard again. He fired at the spider in the air, his knife moves opening and closing in a grand manner. In an instant, he severed and cut off the spider's limbs. The spider, losing its legs, rolled on the ground like a ball. Then Nolan crushed its head with one kick. The sophisticated tall guy on the other side was quite unexpected. He relied on brute force to output madness. So basically, with him, it's one punch per spider. His way of fighting is even more overbearing and unreasonable, dragging and pulling forcefully. The whole scene is most exciting when he plays. The elegant man holding a flower sword next to the tall guy is also worth paying attention to. Wearing a padded jacket in the middle of summer may seem somewhat puzzling. But elegance is always timeless. This does not affect the 10-cross sword flowers trembling in his hand at all. His movements are smooth, elegant, and full of European aristocratic atmosphere. In the end, he even scolded the tall guy for stealing his kill, which prevented him from enjoying it to the fullest. Their casual banter and jokes made the nervous SWAT team member beside them suspicious, wondering if they had come to the wrong set. Please, we are being surrounded by a large group of spiders. Suddenly, a mutation occurred out of the blue. Two large spiders suddenly leaped from the side and pounced on the assault team. At this moment, a figure swiftly shot past, instantly dismembering the spiders. The figure then landed directly among the group of spiders, only to see a black light flash in Jim's eyes. He immediately moved like a swimming dragon, charging and striking through the spider group. Every strike landed on the weak points of the spiders. Is this guy still human? Is there still justice? Whoever dares to say he is a level 7 newbie, I will kill him. The others stopped their hands. They stared blankly as Jim solos by himself. Soon, the spider was almost completely eliminated. But it left Claire deeply puzzled, feeling that something was not right. According to records, the infernal spider belongs to the powerful monsters in the deep layers of the underground labyrinth. They have never appeared on the second floor, so very little is known about them. But logically speaking, monsters living in the depths of the labyrinth should all have strong abilities. Now they have been easily resolved by them. It seems very unreasonable. Claire's statement quickly gained everyone's agreement. Because from the battle just now, it can be felt. These spiders are weaker compared to the whiptail lizard encountered on the first floor. But some people also comfort everyone not to overthink, because this time he has prepared enough bombs to deal with it. So whether the infernal spider comes or not doesn't matter. Unexpectedly, Jim made a new discovery. Through his identification, it turns out that the spiders that were just killed were not infernal spiders. These spiders not only have a small size, but also thin skin and fragile bones. They should belong to a subspecies of infernal spiders, or perhaps a lower-ranking species. Moreover, their fighting styles are different. The infernal spider is like a patient hunter. They set traps and then wait patiently for their prey to get caught, rather than actively attacking. When Jim turned around, he unintentionally noticed something unusual around him. He didn't know when it started, but many thick spider silk threads were hanging from the cave ceiling. He also found the entrance to the second level of the labyrinth. The place was already covered with spider webs. It seemed like something was intentionally blocking their way out. He was suddenly filled with a chilling sensation and a sense of foreboding. He realized that the infernal spider was nearby, and they have already been quietly setting up their plans. He patiently waits for them to fall into the trap. He immediately found the demolitions expert, asking him to bury the explosives at the entrance of the second floor as soon as possible. He warned his teammates to stay vigilant at all times. The battle was not over, as the infernal spider was lurking nearby. However, the yellow-haired man thought that Jim was just being mysterious. Claire also had doubts. Why did Jim know so much about the infernal spider? In fact, Jim should be the only one among their group who has seen and knows about the infernal spider. Just as Claire was about to ask him to clarify, a scream caught everyone's attention. Looking in the direction of the sound, there was only Elegant Swordsman in front. Suddenly, an incredibly huge spider appeared. Jim hurriedly shouted for him to escape. This was indeed the real infernal spider. But Elegant Swordsman seemed to have just been injured by the infernal spider. At this moment, his mind was filled with only thoughts of killing the spider to vent his anger. He paid no attention to Jim's dissuasion. Unexpectedly, in that split second of distraction, his body was instantly pierced through by Chella, hanging on it like a torn cloth. In the fleeting moment of dilated pupils, Elegant Swordsman probably never dreamed that the final image of his life would be this gaping mouth dripping with blood. As a master-level martial artist, his sword movements were also simple and unadorned. Yet, due to underestimating his opponent's strength, he was pierced through by the monster's claw, ultimately becoming food in the mouth of the infernal spider, accompanied by a piercing howl from the infernal spider. In the depths of the silent and dark labyrinth, echoes of countless rustling sounds can be heard. In an instant, numerous spiders of various sizes slowly emerged from the darkness. Claire immediately turned around and ordered all personnel to gather urgently. Unexpectedly, it was already too late as casualties had occurred in the team. However, the scene before their eyes seemed so familiar to Jim, because this scene had occurred in his childhood. This deeply ingrained in his mind, accompanying him through countless sleepless nights in his childhood. Suddenly, Claire's questioning interrupted Jim's thoughts. It seems like your judgment was correct. What are you staring at? Quickly regroup and prepare for battle. Upon hearing this, Jim stared at Claire as if she were a fool. Thinking about facing the enemy head-on was as good as handing them the victory. However, he restrained himself and analyzed the current situation for her. Not only is there a spider emperor, but also 2 commanding infernal spiders and countless low-level spider subordinates. With our small group, winning is absolutely impossible. The only way is to quickly make use of the bombs to gain more time for retreat. Don't worry that the explosion will cause the cave to collapse. The infernal spider should have been on the cave roof, covered in tough spider silk. Seeing this, Claire was confident. The level 7 newbie in front of her not only understood the infernal spider, but also seemed to have experience dealing with it. On the other side, the other main team members have already engaged with the spider at this point. But the number of spiders is so overwhelming that it's despairing. What is the purpose of the advanced team that went in early? Why are there so many spiders left unresolved? Are you stupid? The advanced team has become dried meat hanging above your head. The rest probably have been eaten. He immediately turned his head and urged the assault team to hurry up and bury the bombs. But the cultured big guy didn't think so. He believed that there was no need to be afraid if you felt unjust and just act on it. There is no need to pay attention to the one pretending to be a spider expert. It's just something said by a level 7 newbie. The original purpose of entering the underground labyrinth mission was to eliminate the infernal spider. There is no reason to flee upon discovering the target. At this moment, Jim in the front line fighting the spiders turned around. Startled, he warned that the infernal spider was about to attack. It came just in time. We were just waiting for it. He exerted force under his feet and leaped fiercely. He shot towards the infernal spider like a human cannonball. Jim was furious and exasperated. Indeed, it's impossible to persuade someone who wants to die. At this moment, the tall man had leaped close, gathering all his strength into his fist. The heavy blow fell heavily on the spider's head with great force and weight. A crisp sound. The big guy's arm broke with a bone spur piercing through the skin. The excruciating pain spread throughout his body in an instant, making him unable to help but let out a heart-wrenching scream. But the moment of the miserable scream came to a sudden halt, because by then, he had already been pierced through by the spider. The next moment, he was cruelly devoured by the infernal spider in front of everyone's eyes. Just as the yellow-haired man and Nolan were shocked by the scene before them, unexpectedly, another infernal spider suddenly leaped towards the two of them in the blink of an eye. Jim rushed out from the side and wielded his knife to block Chella. He then raised his knife and positioned himself in front of the yellow-haired man and Nolan, with black light flashing in his eyes. Jim's actions were no different from a spider seizing its prey, instantly stirring up the enraged beastly nature of the infernal spider. Several sharp Chella, accompanied by a strong wind, stabbed towards him rapidly. He only saw him bend his waist, and immediately the movements in his hands were as fast as lightning. Waving the knife, shadows filled the sky, blocking each spider one by one. Level 7 Masters, please accept this person's knees. When he came to his senses, he realized that the yellow-haired man had already dashed away into the distance. Returning to the battlefield, Jim dodged the passing attack of Chella by crouching down, then quickly stood up and swung his sword to block Chella's attempt to counterstrike. Suddenly, a glimpse of movement from the side made him feel uneasy. That was close. Jim narrowly escaped being smashed into a pancake by another infernal spider that leaped up for a surprise attack. He forcibly stabilized his mind to adjust his own state, because at this moment, he is facing a pincer attack from two commanding-level infernal spiders. It seems that he needs to reveal some of his hidden cards in order to deal with the current situation. In an instant, Jim was suddenly surrounded by flickering electrical arcs, with a remarkable momentum. He took a big step forward and slashed at the infernal spider with his knife. Letting you leak a card is not the same as letting you leak electricity. At this moment, Claire also received a report that the explosive package was ready. She decisively ordered to detonate immediately, with the explosion of the bomb. Others are quickly entering the passage to retreat from Labyrinth Floor 1. Don't forget to notify Jim to escape together. Who would have thought that the moment the words fell, Jim flashed in front of them. He immediately knocked Claire into the passage behind him. However, the attack by the infernal spider quickly followed with a claw swipe. But Jim was faster and instantly leaped into the air. He also caught the machete dropped by Claire in passing. Next, he twisted his body. Taking advantage of the momentum, he lifted his foot and kicked the huge stone at the top of the cave entrance. The huge stone shattered and fell with a loud crash. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. Claire was the first to realize his intention. He was trying to block the passage with the huge stone to buy time for everyone to escape. He hurriedly shouted to stop him from going together. It's impossible for him alone to defeat the infernal spider. No matter how he shouted for Jim, he didn't pay any attention. The huge rock that fell quickly sealed the passage tightly. Jim slowly turned around with dual swords in his hands, facing two terrifying infernal spiders with indifference and no fear in his eyes. It finally quieted down. "So let me find some fun," he said, as a dazzling electric light suddenly burst out from his body. The space in front seemed unable to withstand this soaring electric pressure, and shattered in response. The next moment, The Garo labyrinth under his control appeared startlingly, led by Domi. It seems that the violent gang has been waiting for a long time. In the underground labyrinth, a spider that has been hungry for 18 years glows with a hungry red light in its eyes. Seeing the spiders surrounding them, Jim quickly arranges his troops. 2 Garo berserkers are assigned to deal with them. One of them leads the spiders. The rest of the Garo tribe berserkers' task is to guard the palace gates. The only thing currently troubling Jim is the huge spider emperor, but fortunately, the narrow passages of the labyrinth's second floor restrict its movement. So far, it has not made any reckless moves, fearing a collapse and being buried alive. This is also why Jim dares to stay and negotiate with the infernal spider. Take advantage of the spider emperor being unable to move. Quickly get rid of these little spiders first. At the same time, the spiders have already leaped and pounced towards them. Just as Jim's pupils flashed with white light, electric arcs instantly surrounded his body. In an instant, he had leaped into the air with 2 knives in hand. One knife, with great force, fiercely chopped towards the head of the spider leader. Unexpectedly, as another spider leader attempted to sneak attack from behind, a lightning-fast arrow suddenly shot through, accurately hitting the spider's head. Although the appearance of Archer with the cloth-covered eyes is puzzling, his accuracy is indeed impressive. Following that, Archer quickly nocked an arrow and drew the bowstring. The arrow he shot exploded like a cannonball. The arrow scattered the group of spiders in all directions. The scene on the Garo berserker side is relatively relaxed. The leader of the spiders was beaten by the 2 of them. It was thrown to the ground and couldn't recover in time. It had already fallen to the ground and given up resistance. The performance of the Garo people. Jim silently watched. Their overall performance was better than he had expected. Of course, it may have something to do with the cheerleading squad organized by Domi. Organized division of labor in combat. Jim also had fun abusing the Spider Emperor a little bit. Careful, the Spider Emperor has started to act. Thanks to Domi's alarm. When Jim came to his senses, he only felt the overwhelming pressure coming from all directions. His body instinctively leaped aside just in time to narrowly avoid it. As he rolled over and looked up, only then did he realize that the terrifying blow just now was actually just the Spider Emperor extending its chela. The Spider Emperor must have sensed the weakness of the Spider Leader, prompting it to intervene. Suddenly, the Spider Emperor let out a loud, mournful howl. The sound waves shook to the core, causing Jim to panic and cover his ears to resist. At that moment, a system pop-up window appeared, displaying the roar of the Spider Emperor. It brought the combat power of the spider colony back to its peak. Can we still play like this? He immediately turned and looked towards the entrance of the Garo labyrinth. Sure enough, the Garo guard was covered in spiders, and it looked like he was about to be overwhelmed. The Spider Emperor's combat power surged, as if it had taken adrenaline. Spotting a vulnerability, it cut off Berserker's arm with a claw, turning the once promising situation into a collapse amidst the cries of the Spider Emperor. Jim instantly made a decision that he must shut the Spider Emperor up. He immediately grabbed a knife and leaped up to chop towards the Spider Emperor. A sudden flash of a cross-shaped knife light flashed by. The Spider Emperor also fell down under this blow. He then anxiously inquired about the battle situation in the Domi Garo labyrinth. The master is barely holding on. There are simply too many subspecies of spiders. You must hold on and persevere for a while longer. Unexpectedly, the attacks from the Spider Emperor are coming one after another. But fortunately, Jim dodged in time. Otherwise, he would have been chopped off half of his body long ago. His repeated evasions made the Spider Emperor rotate his body shape. He turned his back to the Garo labyrinth. His brain was quickly working out a plan of action. He caught a glimpse of the magic summoned by a Garo baby snake unintentionally. He suddenly had an idea in his mind. While he was distracted, Spider Emperor's Chela attacked again. Jim quickly raised his sword to defend. He immediately dashed towards the direction of the Spider Emperor. The Spider Emperor, which had just been mercilessly abused by him, had lost its fighting power at this moment. Jim acted without hesitation, going straight up with a knife to sever its lower jaw. From this angle, you can see that there is a large velvet gem embedded in its upper jaw. He then reached out as if taking something from a bag and grabbed the gem. Just as he struggled to grab the gem, the venomous fangs of the Spider Emperor were also coming towards him. Suddenly, a figure rushed out from the smoke and dust. At this moment, Jim's eyes were sharp. He fiercely threw the gem in his hand. Just as a red light accompanied by a strong wind was rapidly shooting towards the labyrinth. It was past Domi in an instant, flying towards the altar of the labyrinth. The gem was absorbed by the altar in an instant. Jim immediately issued a summon, the command of Garo Mage. Immediately, a terrifying lightning struck down. A Garo Mage holding a staff slowly emerged.